Hey everybody, welcome back to OldBeardedGaming. We are jumping back into RlCraft, our hardcore series, attempt 69. It has been a hot minute since we have played and produced footage of RlCraft. My apologies on the delay. We've been busy with a few other things, but there is unfinished business to be had here in RlCraft. We are getting very close to singularly having one task remaining. But that is not this video. We are going to get to that point by the end of this video. So I welcome you aboard for the ride as we clear out the remaining items here in the Lost Cities. And as we go to collect the various race rings and the remaining baubles here in the Lost Cities, my apologies on the audio recording for the gameplay footage. Apparently OBS did an update. We didn't get the audio selected quite right. I should have spot checked the video recordings, but was so eager to dive back into this and get some production for you guys. We simply missed it, and you're just going to have to deal with listening to my voice narrate over the top of the footage. So it is what it is, but we will get it right for the very last episode that'll be coming up after this one. Now, prior, we had gotten a couple of the race rings, and, they're not overtly too crazy to come across. Some of them are random, but some are in very specific locations. Here we're in the subway system, and this is the location of the Goblin Ring. You're going to follow the subway tracks till you find a room similar to this. You'll know you're in the right place because there's a little alcove here with 4 chests, a couple of different gem blocks. We're breaking around trying to see if I can find where these spawners are at, but no luck. These may just be natural. But as you keep going through, eventually you will come across that green ring, and that is the Ring of the Goblins. The Goblin Ring can only be found in the subway system, so definitely get yourself underground. There's entrances to it all over the place. And we do a quick spot check here, and we now have the Goblin Ring. Now prior we had the Titan Ring and the Phalus Ring. Both of these rings relatively common out in the overworld. You find them usually around the mid-level in the various structures. The next ring we're coming across is the Ring of the Elves. Now the Elvish ring is a little bit kind of hit or miss, although it ended up being pretty plentiful. In some people's playthroughs, but I only ever found one. And it happened to not be on the ground floor. And that's where a lot of people tell you to look, but this one is on the second story up. I think the key thing to look for is that there's some sort of fauna, there's flowers, there's potted plants, etc. That's going to let you know you're probably in the right place. The Ring of the Dwarves is a little easier to track down. We find ourselves in a tall building here. We're going all the way down to the basement. And in the basement is where you're going to find the Ring of the Dwarves. This first chest here is actually a Phalus chest. Didn't end up having a ring, but you can see that's all stuff that a cat would like, fish and string. The other chest on the other side here, though, has what we're looking for, and that is the Dwarven Ring. Makes sense that they would be underground in the basement, but not in the subway where the goblins are hanging out. Now the hardest ring for me to come by was the Dragon Ring. This one can be random in really any location. You see there in the inventory, we've got quite a few various other rings before we came across this one. The types of chests that you're looking for are going to have basically treasure loot in them. It's going to have precious metals and gems, and there'll usually be some gem blocks inside. So if you're flying around, you're looking in the windows and you see, hey, there's some blocks of gold and blocks of diamond and emeralds. Definitely want to take a moment and take a peek to see what's in those chests. But as you can see, as we unload here, this was all told roughly about, I'd say, 4 hours worth of gameplay to acquire all these rings. And of course, you can take these rings and through potions, you can brew them into a elixir that you can drink that does a permanent transformation and frees up the ring slot. So that's the real main draw to these items. But with the baubles out of the way, we have other business that we need to tend to here in the Lost Cities. And that is getting the pieces necessary to be able to craft the living weapons. Now there's a tons of different ways you can go about doing this. There's quite a few video series actually out there on YouTube of where guys are out there creating these quote-unquote beacon farms. I don't know about all that. That seemed like a lot of work to me, especially when you can literally just kind of fly around and kill stuff and find the mobs that you're looking for, and you're looking for the adapted versions of these, which do just simply spawn out in the open. But as we've lapsed here, where I had a couple of level 1 beckons, and I think I said beacons before, it's beckons, in the area, we just stayed here. And honestly, I think this was a total of about 2.5 hours or so. We'd leave, go back, get enough wine to be able to keep our buffs going. But as you can see, it gets really crazy when you get a couple level 4s. There's some level 3s, 2s. It's constantly spawning new beckons as well. But this is generating, and especially when you see the lightning bolts happen, it is modifying these monsters to become the adapted versions, and those are the ones that are going to drop the crafting materials that we're looking for. A public service announcement, though, to those that want to come out here and do this, because keep in mind, we are doing this in silver armor. It is not the most protective in the entire world. We do have our full slew of potion buffs going and food, and we're drinking the wine and all of that, but you can absolutely lose your gear, and it will just completely break if you don't remember to land and gather the experience points. It's so tempting to just kind of fly around and float for a little bit. Fortunately, we didn't have any mishaps here, but it occurred to me actually while I was filming this that, oh shoot, I need to get down on the ground to be able to allow the mending to happen. Because I was noticing that, you know what, the durability gauge under my nunchucks was going down and it wasn't going back up, and I'm like, I shouldn't even see a durability gauge when I'm killing these things for the most part, because there's so much experience to be had, but you don't collect it unless your feet are on the ground. So just remember, don't spend too much time in the air. But that said, this takes an awful long period of time, and it's really kind of an investment, because once you get it going, it's going to be going. I mean, things can get actually completely out of hand, and sometimes you need to kind of thin the herd a little bit with the beckons and kill off a couple of these so it's not just too overwhelming. I did find and chose a location here, kind of in a little mini desert in the city, so I had some open space to work with. Really, just kind of do what you need to do to make sure that you're getting the pieces, whether you want to, level up some of the beckons, or if you just want to fly around in the overworld, finding the particular mobs that you're looking for. And the pieces that we need to craft these living weapons, the yellow eye bones, we needed the long arm, armor fragments, as well as a couple of the Reeker fangs to be able to craft the pieces that we needed. We pause for a moment and do a quick little victory lap here, realizing that we didn't claim our rewards for getting all of the race rings. So we get the last couple remaining hats that are available in this mod pack. Really a nice little feature, honestly, to RlCraft. I love collecting things, and having this as part of the gameplay, super awesome. And of course, being OldBeardedGaming, one of these options that we got is a upgraded version to our beard. So we will get that going in pretty short order. But yeah, these little classy hats, super cool. Off goes the Dwarven beard, on goes the Viking beard. We get horns to go along with the majestic beard. It is as things should be. And I think at this point in the game, honestly, we have earned this beard. Absolutely. And as far as I know, with the YouTuber headset there for the last one, for the Dragon Ring, there's only one thing left to collect, and that's going to be the head of the Amalgalich. And we are coming for him just as soon as we get these things crafted up. Now, there's a lot of debate as well as to whether or not these weapons, the living weapons, and then, once you craft the sentient weapons from the living weapons, if these are absolutely necessary, the best that you're going to need for being able to fight, the Amalgalich, the final boss, or have an easier time in the Lost Cities. To be honest, after going through all of this hardcore stuff and doing as well as we have in the Lost Cities with just, absolutely, kind of maxed out regular pieces of gear and weapons, I don't honestly see the need unless Amalgalich just completely destroys me, which would be incredibly sad. I'm really hoping that that's not going to happen, but I don't know that these weapons are going to be necessary. We are going to probably enchant and level up the sentient bow. just to have it, because that is the weapon of choice for fighting the final boss in RlCraft. Simply because you got to keep your distance. You got to be around the outside. You need to be able to take down the summons that he creates at range and avoid being sucked in when he does his little draw-in ability. And the only way to do that is with a good ranged weapon. It's actually at this point that I realized that, oh shoot, I need to craft all 3 of these for the achievement, not just one. And I was not exactly prepared for that. So back to the Lost Cities, to our beckon farm, and we'll get the rest of it. Cut, break, insert 4 hours later clip. We're not going through all that hassle. We went back over. We got it. It's here. Hopefully this is enough. And as it turns out, it would be enough. So we're going to go through the crafting here for each of these pieces. Again, the scythe uses slightly different components. Most of it's all the same across all 3 weapons. The scythe had a different core, a gem that was used, that summoners kind of jewel, the purple one that you saw there. And I only ever got one of those. And then the great axe used a different one, the green one that's there in the inventory in the bottom center there. And again, I only ever got one of those after hours of farming over there for it. So they're not the most common drops in the world, and that's with having the maximum looting. That's with having all the enchants you would want for getting drops over there. They're just not the most common things in the world. So expect that it's going to take a little bit of time to be able to get everything that you're looking for. So as we're crafting up the rest of the living weapons here, getting ready to get the materials that we're going to need to craft the sentient versions of these, I wanted to reflect just briefly on kind of this journey as a whole. RlCraft has been absolutely entertaining. It's been unique and a one-of-a-kind experience in the entire Minecraft ensemble of potential mod packs that exist out there. There is definitely some other versions that I'm going to be interested in playing. The harder core version that exists, definitely something that I think we will dabble in to be able to create some additional content for those that enjoy watching the RlCraft series here. But I think all in all, this entire journey and experience has really kind of showcased what's possible. When you've got creativity and, to be perfectly honest, sadistic creators like Shavaxi that go out of their way to say, you know what, we don't want this to be easy. We really don't. So as you've seen, we've done the victory lap. We've put on the various weapons. In this living state, they're not overtly impressive. They definitely get a little bit better here once we upgrade them to sentient status. But to do that, we're going to need some additional materials. Specifically, we're going to need 4 of the Undead Soulstones each, as well as 4 of the Yellow-Eyed Bone materials, which we should still have enough left over. Yeah, again, once I got here, I realized, oh crap, I have to craft all 3 of these to get this final achievement for the Lost Cities, not just one of them. So in order to get the Undead Soulstones, that means we need to go slay a dozen of the Lunar Grues. Now, Lunar Grues aren't overtly difficult. In fact, to be perfectly honest, anything in the overworld, every Lycanite boss mob that exists, every variant of them is absolutely, completely, positively, 100% a pushover at this point in the game. And if there is one critique that I have about RlCraft, it's this. The scaling in terms of how difficult the game is really has these exponential ledge effects, right? So the very beginning of the game is a struggle, and it increasingly gets a little bit more difficult, and then it starts getting a little bit easier as you start acquiring more and more of the good gear. You unlock various skills and abilities. You're outfitting your stuff with the best enchantments, so there's a progression. Here you see us farming some of the lunar grooves, making that little shrine and kind of the weird T formation. But I mean, not even 2 seconds, and he's dead. And there we have it. We've got our Undead Soulstone. We get that achievement, which leaves just one final achievement after we craft the sentient weapons, and that's going to be for the Amalgalich. So we'll go ahead and farm the rest of these that we need here. Get the dozen plus one because we need to craft the summoning cube for the final boss as well, and it uses one of the soul stones. But going back to the critique, once you get to that point, the quote-unquote endgame status, there's so much more, it feels like, still to explore in the overworld that there isn't a whole lot of point to. The achievements help because that forced us to go to a couple various places, see some different things, to be able to experience more of what the mod pack had to offer. The fishing stuff was just downright sadistic. Definitely don't want to have to go through that again. But to be honest, every fishing achievement in every game that I've ever played has been that way. Warcraft was absolutely horrible with it. Final Fantasy XIV, absolutely a chore and almost second job to be able to get some of those achievements. So it was really nothing too unexpected to see that it was done here, although I think it could have been a little bit easier if I'm being honest. We've now crafted the soul cube that we need to summon the final boss. There's the shrine configuration that we will use in the Lost Cities in our next episode, our final episode of this hardcore series. That's to come very soon. And this is the guy right here. Kill Amalgalich. We're coming for you, buddy. It's going to happen. But final boss aside, as we get ready to craft the sentient weapons here, I would like to have seen maybe some more incremental uses of some of the various structures that exist out there in RlCraft throughout this journey, through these 69 attempts and the numerous efforts to explore and see the world. We found a utilization for a good handful of the unique and really beautifully crafted structures that are in this mod pack. But for every one that was useful and had a purpose, there was another one that was just as gorgeous but served absolutely no purpose. It had no utility because it either didn't have resources that wasn't worth exploring, or there was nothing in there that was worth the risk for that point in the game for coming across the various mobs that were there. Really the only criticism I have. Otherwise, RlCraft is absolutely amazing and beautiful. So there we have it, the final achievement of Cities of the Damned. It is done. We are one episode away from beating RlCraft 2.9 Hardcore. All 3 sentient weapons exist. We will pick back up in our final episode, probably with an enchanted sentient bow. Amalgalich, I'm coming for you. OldBeardedGaming, we'll see you next time.